Good morning guys! Today we are going to prepare Withholding Tax 2021 and this is Module 3. Before train law started, a single employee will pay more tax than those employees who are already married. So exemption and deduction vary because of their employee's status. But today, it is not important anymore as long as your employee and does not reach a monthly salary of 20,888.33 or 250,000 a year, then you are not entitled to pay withholding tax. Imagine you will take home a much more salary than before, but I would like you to understand that even tax is already based on what you receive on your monthly salary. Governments such as your SSS, GSIS, Philhealth, and Ibig contribution are still deductible. So what is withholding tax? So withholding tax means tax applicable for the employees of the company. Employer deduct tax or withhold their employee's salary in order to share for our government needs. When tax are computed annually to get the per annum basis, we are computing progressive income tax. If your tax paid is more than the annual tax you paid to the company, then you are entitled to a tax refund. But if your tax is less than on what the company deduct to you, then you need to pay back VIR. This tax for pay is called tax still due and outstanding. When train laws start during 2018, additional non-taxable allowances are also provided by government to diminish the payment of withholding tax of employees, sole proprietor, and partnership business. So this one is the train tax law withholding tax table, wherein you could see how much tax will be paid by the taxpayer. So if your salary bracket is 250,000 and below, or means the minimum salary is only 20,888.33 below, then you are not entitled to pay tax. But if your salary is 250,000 above for a year, up to 400,000, then you are now provided to pay your income tax. So for the excess of 250,000, you need to pay at 20% of the excess over 250,000. So we are only computing for the tax table of 2018 to 2022. Okay. For the 400,000 to 800,000, the 400,000 taxable income need to pay at 30,000 plus the excess of 25%. For example, you have 480,000, then the 400,000 is 30,000 tax, and the 80,000 should be computed or should be multiplied to 25% in order to get the annual tax or the progressive income tax. Okay? If your salary is 800,000 to 2 million, the 800,000 are entitled to pay 130,000 plus another 30% for the remaining amount. For example, the salary is 1 million, so the 800,000 of 1 million is 130,000 plus the remaining 200,000 should be multiplied to 30%. Okay? Then the next table is from 2 million to 8 million. So if your salary or if your earning fall on 2 million, then you need to pay 490,000 plus the excess of 32%. So another example is, for example, you earn 3 million, then the 2 million will be 490,000 and the remaining 1 million should be multiplied by 32%. So you add the two and then you get the progressive tax or the annual income tax for the year. Okay? For the 8 million above, 8 million is equivalent to 2,410,000 tax plus the remaining should be multiplied to 35%. So another example here is if you earn 10 million, for example, a certain engineer earn 10 million a year, then his 8 million should be 2,410,000, which should be paid to the BIR, plus the remaining 2 million should be multiplied by 35% also as part of tax. So you need to add the two in order to get the total amount of progressive tax for the year. Okay? So this is only the example on how you will compute your withholding tax or the governmental contribution. So we have the Philhealth contribution, the SSS contribution, the GSIS contribution, and the Ibig contribution. Tables for other governmental contribution will be provided for you so that you will easily understand the procedure. EE and ER in business terms are employees and employer. The designated table have EE and ER. As tax consultant or accountant, you need to look at the EE portion since it is the contribution that you are going to deduct on your salary. The sample, for example, you have a monthly salary of 20,000. So how much will be contributed by the employee and the employer? So for the employee, it should be 350, and for the employer, it will also be 350. So how did I get the amount? 20,000 multiplied by 3.5%. So the answer is 700, and then you divide it by 2 in order to get the amount of contribution of both the employee and employer. Example is monthly salary of 35,000. So how will we get the solution? Again, you need to multiply the 35,000 multiplied by 3.5% and then divided by 2 to get the amount of 612.50 both for the employee and employer. Next is the computation of the SSS. So, this is the table and you already have the copy. For example, you have the monthly salary of 20,000. So, how much will be the SSS monthly contribution of 20,000? So, for the employee, it is 922.50, and for the employer, we have 1,772.50. What about if the salary is 35,000? So based on the table, we need to pay 1,125 for the employee and 2,155 for the employer. Next is the GSIS contribution. So according to GSIS, the contribution percentage of the employee is 9%, while the employee contribution rate is 12%. For example, the monthly salary of a teacher working in government institution, just like Cavite State University, is 20,000. So you just multiply the 20,000 multiplied by 9%. So it is 1.8 for the employee. And for the employer, we have 20,000 multiplied by 12%. So the employer needs to pay 2,400 monthly contribution for the teacher. Okay? Next example is 35,000. So for the employee, we need to compute 35,000 multiplied by 9% to get the amount of 3,150 contribution. And for the employer need to share 4,200 by means of computing 35,000 times 12%. Next government contribution is the Ibig contribution. Here, whether your salary is small or big, the amount of your contribution both for EE and ER is both 100 pesos. Let's give an example on how we are going to produce the amount of tax or the withholding tax for the employees, for the sole proprietor, or for the partnership. Okay? So this one is the withholding tax formula. So you need to get first the annual gross compensation income. For example, my salary is 20,000 only, so you need to compute 20,000 times 12%. So that will be your gross compensation income. And then add other income. This one naman, you need to compute the either the 13-month, the bonuses, the allowances that the company have given you. So that's your other income. And then you need to add the 2. So that's your total compensation income. And then you deduct the government contribution, the one that we produce or we compute a while ago, which is either the SSS or GSIS, the Philhealth, and Ibig. So the total summary of the contribution will be your government contribution. And then the allowable deduction. So Here, according to government, there is a maximum of 90,000 allowances both for the private and public employees. Okay, before you compute the tax. So, after getting the total compensation income minus the government contribution and allowable deduction, you will have now your net taxable income. Okay, so this is now the basis of your computation. The person that we are going to produce is the progressive income tax, or what we call as the annual tax. Okay, so this is only the formula on how we will compute it. Then after getting the annual tax, we divide it by 12 to get the monthly tax computation.